Hi everyone. Well, it's coming up Christmas time, so I thought I'd show you a few really easy things to make for Christmas that are useful as well. So the first thing I decided to do was sew everything with 2.5 inch strips of fabric. So I have chosen fabrics and I've either cut them into 2.5 inch squares or 2.5 inch strip wide pieces of fabric. So the first thing I'm just going to show you is I have made a little oven mitt, and after making it I realized there's probably no point putting a hanger because the kitchens in this day and age don't have anywhere to hang the hangers. So then I decided when I made the next one that I'd put a hanger on, but I'd put it with a stud so that it can go around the oven and then stud on and it can hang. So these are all 2.5 inch squares of fabric, and on this one on the back I've just put a plain colour, and on this one, which I haven't quilted yet, I have done strips of fabric in 2.5 inches wide. The next thing I've done with 2.5 inch strips of fabric is I have made some hand towels, and I've used my 2.5 inch squares and sewn a row of colours that I like and stitch them onto a hand towel. Now the hand towels are $4, so this is a very, very reasonably priced gift that you could make for someone. And if you want to make a nice bright funky one, you can use some nice bright Christmassy colours. So this one is going down to the farm. I thought that was a very good colour to go down to the farm, and that other one's for one of the other children. Now what you actually do when you're making the oven mats is you need to have Insulbright. Now Insulbright is going to absorb the heat and not go through to your hand, but on the other side you want to put a cotton wadding, so these two actually get sewn together. So after doing a few of these, I decided the best thing to do is to quilt them individually. So I'll show you how you stitch your squares together, but once I stitched them together I decided to quilt them individually. So this one has already been quilted, and you can see here from my stitches, and then that's the Insulbright, and then this one is the cotton wadding, and I've quilted through the cotton wadding, and you're going to love this. As I was quilting it, I may have picked up a tea bag, which I'll show you later, and so that's now staying in there because it accidentally got sewn in. It's not coming out. And you can see here I've put a tag with a stud on one end, and on my other piece I've put my stud ready for these two to be sewn together. So quilted, stud, one end of the stud, one end of the stud, and then this will go into here, and I will clip these together to sew around. Now by doing this method I can just sew it around, leave an opening and turn it through and top stitch it, or if I wanted to I could have put wrong sides together and then bind it. But for this one I'll turn it through, and the only thing you have to make sure is that this, which is going to be your tag, is inside and you're not going to sew it. So what I normally do is I just fold it up inside and I put a pin right through both pieces and hold it so it cannot go anywhere near my edges. Here we go. And that's how I stop that from getting sewn in. So clips are great for this job. And what I usually do is I put a pin where my opening's going to be, because otherwise I get so excited. Oh, actually I'll put my opening around here. I get so excited I forget where I was opening it and I sew around the whole thing. So that's what we'll do. That will not be sewn and all the rest will be sewn around. So we'll do that later. Okay, so that's the two products that you use. So I thought you'd appreciate me sewing in a tea bag. Well, not normally a tea bag, a bit of fabric. Okay, so if you're going to be doing any of these, the first thing you need to do is cut all your fabric squares into 2.5 inches, and you can use your 1/4 inch foot number 37, number 57 or number 97D. And I'm just using all my scraps up that I've got left over. So when you're using a fabric like this, it can go this way or it can go that way. So I have started here and I've sewn my two pieces together and I've placed that this way. So I think I'll put a stripe going this way beside it, and then I'll put another one of these. So right side to right side whenever you're doing your stitching. And if you start off by using a little starter piece of fabric, it makes it nice and easy. So I'm just going to start off by using a little starter piece of fabric, and I am going to run my foot along the edge and sew down. Now if I was doing them all at once, I wouldn't stop. I would just do what's called continuous sewing, and I would do all my twos together like this, and then I'd find another center, and another stripe, another chevron, and I'll make this go the other way, so that I just continuously sew them, and it makes the sewing very, very, very quick. Okay, when I've finished, I have another little bit of fabric that I'll use to stitch on, and then I can stop, and then I can cut these in between. There, 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 and there. So normally I just do them 2 by 2 by 2, like this and like this, and then they're ready to all stitch together. So this one is going to be the 3 one, and I'll add one onto the end because I just want to show you this. So when you have then stitched them, the first row you're going to press all your seams to the right. The second row you're going to press all your seams to the left. So I'm going to press this one all the seams to the right, and I am going to add one more onto the end of this, and I'm going to put that one going the complete opposite way. And I've already got my little bit of fabric in here, so it makes it really, really, really easy because it's all ready to go, and it just means I'm not starting on the edge of my fabric. And then these two, I'm going to press them to the left like that, and I won't use that one because I need a center on the end of this one. I need a center. That one's going like that, and that. I need the center on the end of this one. Here's one I prepared earlier. Excellent. So center's going to go on the end of this one. No, because I can't have that there. So you've got to think what you're doing when you're doing these. Center can go there, center can go there. Got him? And another stripe. Oh look, here's one I prepared. I knew there was, just to save time. So this one is going on to this one here. Excellent. I thought I had prepared it so you're not watching me stitch straight stitches. And all your seams, make sure they're all the same size so they're actually going to sew together. And there is a thought there that this may not be, but we'll just go with it and see what happens. And once you have done that, and that, and that, you can see clearly these seams are going to the right. So I'll continually press these to the right. So make sure all the seams are going one way. So it's very handy to have your iron close at hand, and it looks quite fun if you turn the fabrics different ways instead of having them all going the same way. Don't make it so uniform, okay? So then I lay this down, pretend this is going on to this one, and then I'm going to press this seam towards the left. Now I've got to decide which way that's going up. It's going that way, this way. Got to watch what you're doing. And don't worry too much about the Santa fabric being upside down round the wrong way, because it kind of is all upside down and round the wrong way. Perfect. Right, so now what I'm going to do is I've got my seams going the opposite way. I'm going to turn them over and I'll show you. So the reason why we press the seams, if you've not done any patchwork, is so when we line up this seam here and we put it together like so, we will butt our seams together. Now you can either use clips to hold those, or you can pin them, but my suggestion, if you're going to use normal pins, when you have got them together, don't put your pins straight up and down. Put them on an angle like that, so you can get your needle there before you pull a pin out. That's what I do. So again, I butt them together, make sure that they're nice and even, and I put the pin on an angle like, oh, that's a quilting pin, that's way too thick. I put the pin on an angle like that, so I can stop with my needle down and then pull the pin out. Then I know that I'm going to get nice even seams. So I'm going to sew straight down here, and now this is how you join them together. So nice and even, make sure all your pieces are square and you can run them along the edge of your foot. And then you can just press them, doesn't matter which way you press these. If it's a big project, I would probably press the seam open, but it's only a little project, so I wouldn't worry too much. And whoop, cut that. And there you have 1, 2, 3 perfect seams because of the way I had pinned it. So you can see on the back, this seam's going up and this seam's going down, and that's why they meet nicely here. So if you're going to be doing a big project, you can, if you want to, press this seam open, but you kind of got to think ahead how you're going to be quilting it, because you can weaken the seams by pressing them open. For this, it would probably be absolutely fine because it's just a small project. Okay, so once you've done them all, you simply lay them down on here, and then on this one I'll show you how to quilt it, and you do another 2 of those, and that would be one side. Okay, now to do this one, it is easier, don't get a bit of fabric hooked up, it is easier to actually just quilt it as you go while you've got the fabric on there. So quite often I will put a central piece down the middle, and then I might just get a nice, and I'm not going to use 2.5 inch strips on this one because I'm using up all my scraps. I will get just a nice little piece that I've got left over from my scraps, as long as it is cut straight, and I'll simply stitch it straight on to my piece of wadding. Now this is cotton wadding. So remember, 1/4 inch seam. So with this one, once you've stitched it on, this is called Quilt-as-you-go. You simply take it to your iron, so you've got your right sides together, and then you take it to your iron and you just simply press it over. So this is going to be a cute little stripe in between. So you can use up all your scraps on the back. You don't have to do 2.5 inch strips. It was just that I'm getting to the end of my fabrics, so I will use up what I've got. So this one is going to have this nice bright stripe on here, and I do not need to cut these to size because it's just a backing. It's not, doesn't have to be perfectly cut, which is quite a nice way to quilt sometimes. The one thing you do need to allow is so when that folds over, it will be covering your other edge of your wadding. That's all you need to remember. So this is quite a fun way to quilt as you go. So if you've never done anything like this, give it a go, because this is a really fun little thing to do and a very quick thing to make. So the Insulbright and the cotton wadding is sold by the meter. And press it open. And there you can see how quick and easy and fun it is. So I've got this nice big piece here that might just fill in that gap there, and one more, and one side will be all done. So they're not hard, they're very fast to make, and they're quite fun. And sometimes you need a couple of little gifts at your house just in case somebody calls round with a gift you were not expecting. And one little piece in the corner. That won't be quite fat enough. Oh look, we can use a square. We'll pop that little square in the corner. That will be quite fun. And it should just cover that. Perfect, absolutely perfect. So once you've done the whole square, so pretend the whole square is done, then I just turn it to the wrong side and I trim that back. So I'll just do this so you can see exactly how it's going to look. Make sure you get all your bits of fabric out of the road, trim it up. Don't throw those little bits out, you might use them for another project. But you can see how quick and easy it is. The cutting is my favourite part. As some of you know, when you come to my classes, I love trimming up people's quilts. It's just so rewarding to see it finished. I keep all my scraps. Oop, missed a piece. There we go, so you can see how nice and tidy that is, and it's already quilted. So I don't have to do anything. It's really, really nice. So you do your back like that. You do your front like this. Now, here's one I prepared earlier. So this has got my Insulbright on the back, and I've got my fabric on the front, and what I'm going to do is just change to my red thread and show you how I quilted this 12 patch. So red thread, remember, cut your thread, pull it through the needle and pop this on. Oops. And automatic needle threader, the best thing ever. Now all I'm going to do is run my foot along the edge of my seam. So my seams here, I'm just running the foot along the edge and quilting down either side. So I lengthen it out to 3 length because I'm now quilting it. So I'm not needing to put the walking foot on. It's a very small project. I'm not stitching in the ditch. I'm just making it very, very, very easy. This machine doesn't have automatic lift up of the foot, so I just push the needle up button because I love having it stopping with the needle down, so that if I stop it doesn't move. So when I finish I just push needle up rather than stopping with the needle up, because I might stop and rearrange, so I want the needle down. So when I finish at the end of my row, I'm just pushing my needle up button and then cutting. Right, another row here. And when it's a small project like this, it does not matter if you go one way and then turn around and go the other. It's not going to affect it because it's so tiny. It's not a big job. Needle up, turn it around. Quite often just turn around and go back the other way. And it's very easy to get your eye in once you've started doing it. And I must have one more row to go. Yep, just here. And in all fairness, when you're learning, if your points aren't perfect, no one is going to notice once you've quilted it, unless they are a quilter in which case you'd take a little bit more care, because this one's definitely a bit of a wonky donkey. This was one of the first ones I stitched together. Not perfect, this one, definitely not, but it still looks great, very effective. Don't know what I did, I must have pulled it somewhere or did something. There we go. So this one's now ready for the backing, and it's all quilted. Yep, oh no, finished, missed one. You can see where you've missed it. Oh, you've got to go with your fabric to the right, because that's the 1/4 inch seam allowance I'm working with. Perfect. There we go. So now sewing them together. So we've got it quilted. This is all quilted. I've got my mark where it's going to go. Oh, the next thing is, the first thing I need to show you is, if you're going to make it'll do. If you're going to make a tube for the stud loop, you're going to get a piece of fabric, and this is about 1.5 inches wide, and you're going to put it together, and you're going to find your loop turner, because it's the best thing since sliced bread. I usually put it on my spare thread span, because then I know where it is, and I'm just going to run down here with 1/4 inch seam allowance. And it doesn't need to be this long, probably about that. About that long. My loop, that'll do. So remember, loop turner. It's got a little hook on the end. Actually, once I've stitched it, I actually trim my seam back half. I always forget to tell people that. It just makes it so much easier. The skinnier piece that's going through the wider piece makes it so much easier. So put your loop turner through your fabric, hook it at one end, and then once you hold your mouth right and you start pulling it down, away you go. So you just got to get it started. And make sure you don't hook the outer fabric. So once you've got it started, this is where the pressure is on here, and so I let it go. One moment please while I let it go. I think I've got it again. And then you keep the pressure on, and you're pulling with your other hand, so keep the pressure on. See, pressure on here, and then just pull it through. Love the loop turner. So once you've done that, that's going to be your loop. You simply give that a press, put the seam to the back. And all I did was fold down the end, cut that thread, fold down the end, and I just put a stud on the end, like this. Didn't do anything hard. I just turned it over and put a stud on the end like that, just a little press stud, and then I'm sewing it into the corner. So make it nice and easy. So this piece here needs to have the other side of the stud on before you put them together. Okay, so stud on that one, stud on that one. That won't go on that one, I'll put a different one. There's my opening. I've pinned my tag in there so I don't end up with it anywhere. Oh, I'll just change back to white thread. So, oh no, not down the ribbon, needle. Red thread to white thread. And also round and turn it through. So starting at my pin, go forward and reverse. Now remember, when you get to the corner, you're going to stop 1/4 inch from the corner, do 1 stitch across on a diagonal and then finish turning. So stop 1/4 inch from the corner, 1 stitch across, and then carry on sewing. And that will give you nice little corners. Where's my little... Love the tea bag. I'm not unpicking it, staying in there. I'll show you what I use that for shortly. So when I come to the part with my tag on it, I usually have to do a couple of stitches across because of the width of the tag. So I need to do 1, 2 so that it doesn't get caught up, rather than 1 just on that corner. And you're working with very solid fabrics now, so you don't have to worry about them moving too much. So the clips are really good to hold that. 1 and turn. I do tend to clip across these corners because it is a little bit thicker because you've got 2 layers. And remember, stop at your opening. I don't need to reinforce my opening so much because of all my quilting. So all I'm going to do is take this pin out and then clip, 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 and trim your pieces like that, and then turn it through. So I just get the corner and then just push them through like that. Oh, I'll get my little loop turner somewhere. My corner and push it through. There we go. And then just get it all through, give it a press, and then I just top stitch around the end. I don't do any hand stitching. No. It's a Christmas gift. Pull that out. Right, now in my little basket of goodies, I will have in here, there he is, my loop turner. Oh, point turner, sorry. I just push it up. Not going to get a perfect corner because you've got so much bulk in there, but you'll get a nice edge corner to it. So much nicer by clipping it and doing those little stitches across that edge. There we go. And also, if you didn't want to just make it flat, you could put a pocket in the back so that your hand could actually go in it, and you'd put the Insulbright on the back of the pocket as well. So there's lots of variations you can do to this. But I just think they look lovely, fun and bright in the kitchen. And here's my opening, so I'm just going to press that down and then just top stitch around the edge with the edge stitch foot. I don't use the normal foot, I just use the edge stitch foot now and edge stitch around that edge. And the only part I put a clip in is at my opening. So just turn it on both sides, make sure that's even, and then give it a bit of heat. They're quite cute, aren't they? Like they're a little bit of fun, a little bit of brighten up your kitchen. So now I put my edge stitch foot number 10 on, which is here, and put my needle position to the left. This is off my big machine, this foot, that's why it looks different. And I actually start just before my opening. And I make sure it's lengthened out, so my stitch length's still on 3. And then just top stitch around the edge. Now when I get to the points, I do go as far as I can go. I don't do 1 stitch across. I go right to the point, so when I turn my bar of my edge stitch foot's on the edge of my fabric again, so it looks nice and even. And don't be too fussy with this. Make it quick and easy. You can tell if you haven't gone far enough because the bar will sit on your fabric. I need to do one more stitch. So the machine is very clever, the foot's very clever. You can't really go too far wrong. The thing is with these gifts, you kind of need to give them before Christmas because otherwise they don't get the benefit of using them on Christmas because they've only got it Christmas Day and Christmas is kind of then over. So you kind of need to give them in November. So get sewing and start giving an early Christmas present. So there and there. And here's your little hanger. Here's my stud. And there you've got a fun little Christmas mat. It's quite cute. Cut my thread. And there we go. So when we come back, I'm going to show you how to make the little hand towel, and wait till you see my Christmas boxes. They're a little bit cute. So I'll show you those as well.